Welcome back to Adaverse. My name is Gigi and I'm joined here today with my colleague Max.
Hello, everyone.
So today we have a very special interview with Rob and Sid from Flickto, a media platform built on Cardano.
And once again, thank you to the Cardano and Ergo communities. Without you guys, this would not be possible. We hope you enjoy the show.
Thank you.
Rob and Sid, it's great to have you guys on the show today. How are you guys doing?
Yeah,
Good,
all great, thanks.
Yeah, for the first question, how would you guys describe Flickto to somebody who's never heard about it before?
Yeah, and I guess actually to answer that question depends if we're talking to someone who's ever dealt with crypto before, right? But if we kind of go for the explain like I'm five definition, Flickto is a media project launchpad. And what we aim to do is connect investors with content creators so that people who have the next big idea for a media project, be that a film, TV show, perhaps a mini series or a short film, have access to funding. People who traditionally wouldn't have access to fund their projects. And as part of that, we have the Flickto community. And these are the people who are voting on these projects, who are looking at them and seeing which ones take their eye, casting their votes, and then the ones that are successful in those voting rounds get funded by the Flickto project. Users of the platform are rewarded for engaging and are rewarded as well when projects go on to be successfully funded and distributed. I guess that's kind of the quick elevator pitch. There's a whole lot more around that, but I'm sure we'll get into that as we go on.
Yeah, I suppose if I can just add to that, maybe it might help to get an insight into the way that the whole name came about. So in the US, obviously, any cinema, any movies, we're going to watch a flick, and then the crypto element, the toe. So Flickto or Flickto, which is sometimes also referred to. That's kind of where the whole idea of concept came from for the name as well.
That's very interesting. Thanks for explaining. So for the next question, why did you choose Cardano specifically to build this project?
Yeah, so there's two aspects to this. There's the technical reasons why Cardano is great for Flickto, and then there's the more philosophical reasons. And we'll start with the technical reasons first. I think that's easiest. Cardano is a great platform to build new projects on top of. With the recent release of smart contracts, there's so much innovation happening on top of Cardano. It's such a exciting time to be a part of it. But additionally, because we have our native utility token, Flick, having a platform that supports native tokens without needing smart contracts capability was quite important for us. So we've got that kind of ticked off, especially how we plan to make extensive use of NFTs on our platform as well. It's another reason why Cardano is great. But also our fundraising model relies heavily on Cardano's stake pool mechanism for raising funds. We're running an initial stake pool offering right now to generate that initial capital that will then go on to fund projects. And as far as I'm aware, there's not a blockchain out there that does staking better than Cardano. With so the vast majority of wallets now actively staking their ADA, I think that's amazing. The fact it's non-custodial, there's no locking involved as well when it comes to Cardano staking. So when it comes to that kind of fundraising model, Cardano just is number one for us. And then as we kind of think more philosophically as well, part of the Flickto platform, a core part that makes Flickto successful is the community. And I think the Cardano community is really unique in how they approach projects, how they work together as a community to get things done as well. With a lot of other blockchains, although they may have more active daily users, their communities are quite fragmented, and they can almost be at war within one another within those communities, whereas Cardano has a much stronger community feel. Also, the vision of the Flickto project is to empower content creators from perhaps different backgrounds, people who wouldn't normally have access to funding. And that we feel is very much in line with Cardano's overall mission, right? In terms of empowering people who traditionally wouldn't have access to these kind of financial tools.
Yeah, Cardano is certainly an amazing cryptocurrency. I agree too. In terms of sustainability also, it's pretty strong, that area too. So and we understand why you'd make this decision.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, speaking of the ISPO and the Flick token, can you guys tell us a little bit about the utility there and what that's going to be used for?
Primary utility for the Flick token is engaging with the Flickto platform. And once launched, it's where members will be able to go, and holders of the token will be able to vote on the projects that they would like to see funded. There are some additional benefits as well. Just for participating on the platform, Flick holders will receive some reward, just like staking in the traditional Cardano world. By staking or voting with their Flick tokens, they'll receive rewards for doing so. But also the Flick token allows us to grant people who did vote for projects a share of the distribution royalties once those projects go on to be successfully funded and distributed. So that's quite important because it gives an ongoing incentive to hold on to that Flick token, to come back, to continue using the platform as well. And it allows us to reward the platform users as well as the content creators that are using the platform. Additionally, it's not just about voting on the projects. The Flick token also makes holders eligible to be entered into the various NFT airdrops that the project seeking to launch on Flickto will be supported in producing as well. So those will either entitle them to free airdrops that projects will send out, or grant them early access to paid NFT projects for projects that are seeking to raise additional funds through NFTs.
So speaking of NFTs, how will you integrate them into the Flickto ecosystem?
So as I kind of touched on there, we will be supporting content creators who wish to generate NFTs. If they want to have NFT collectibles for, say, their project memorabilia, we will support them in that process. We'll provide the technology that enables that airdrop and enables them either to raise funds from their NFTs or just to distribute them to the community, to the people who are supporting these projects as well. There's some other areas that we're looking into with regards to NFTs, more around the rights management side of things. So how do we ensure that creators retain the underlying ownership of the content they produce and can be rewarded for that going forward as well? Rights management, I think, is a great fit for NFTs. So we're looking to bring that to the Flickto platform and the content creators that we partner with as well.
Very cool. Both the users and the creators will be able to, take part in making some of the profits from the media distribution. Where is the media going to be distributed? Is that will Flickto content be on YouTube and stuff and make revenue from advertising, or how does that work?
Yeah, so there's a few different avenues of distribution that are being pursued, and you'll have to bear with me because I'm on the technology side. I wish Theo was here from our media side, but he's a bit poorly today. With regards to distribution, the first one is the internal distribution, right? Giving access to Flick holders the ability to view the content which they've effectively sponsored by voting for it. That's definitely something that's going to interest a lot of content creators. But one of the benefits that we're able to bring those creators is our deep networks and our deep partnerships within the media community that allow us to get the content into distribution across many different channels. And that's actually gives some additional interest, because when it comes, say, for example, with Netflix, because it's been sponsored by the community, because we'll have those metrics from the community, and perhaps it's already been internally distributed to the Flickto community, we can say to them, look, we know that this content appeals to these types of individuals. We know that it's going to be profitable for you to host it, which is going to support our case when we take these projects to some of the larger distributors as well. But it does in part boil down to, those networks, those contacts, those partnerships. And that's one way that we benefit content creators, because we have those connections. We can take them into the room with us when it comes to pitching their projects, and they wouldn't normally have the ability to be sat at that table.
Yeah, just to add, I know Theo and Cam will probably be the right people to talk to you about the media side of things. But absolutely, when it comes to any content creators, usually what their main concern is that, we're going to be putting money in from our own pocket. How do we even know whether this is going to be successful or not? So to start with, we have the community who's already given us indication as to what they'd like to see, which is fantastic. We can go to these distribution production companies and say, well, look, we already have this know-how and insight. And then on top of that, we've also got the production companies themselves who can then look to invest accordingly. And that's where the reward comes back. So yeah, quite exciting actually to be on both sides in essence, or be that platform that allows the bridge.
That's great. So we can all agree the community is so important in Cardano. So how will you hope to affect this community that's gonna really impact, how projects like are developed?
Yeah, that's a great question, because Flickto is all about the community at the end of the day. Our success is determined by our community and how engaged they are with the Flickto platform and the Flickto process. One of the main bits of feedback we've had since day one, when our community members are speaking to us, when they've come onto our Telegram and had a conversation with us, is for the first time, many of them are now able to invest in an industry that is typically not just locked out to content creators, but locked out to small investors as well. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry that the normal everyday person just can't invest in. So we're opening that door to allow them to get involved in this process and to allow them to get rewarded for doing so as well. But it goes a bit beyond that as well, because as we say, people are choosing what content they wish to fund. There's a wider societal benefit to this as well. One of the things that we've always said is, over the years, the media studios, they're kind of going for this cookie cutter approach where we're starting to see less diverse content on our screens. They know that when they release Avengers 32, it's going to be a box office hit. So they play that safe bet card. And what's happening over time is we're seeing less diverse content creators appear on our big screens. So one of the wider impacts we hope to have with Flickto as a community is exposing more stories, granting access to a content platform for creators who never would have had stepped foot in that door before. And then we'll be hearing as a society more stories from more backgrounds, perhaps more disadvantaged backgrounds as well. And that's really quite core to what we're trying to set out to do at Flickto.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's one of the biggest reasons why, and one of the widest impacts that we see happening. My team, we work on a lot of the media and the sort of social side of things. So speaking with the community, be that in Telegram or Discord or so forth, what we find is they're very excited to actually, give their inputs about what kind of direction we want to be going in. And we think it's absolutely amazing that people will be able to perhaps in the future go out and say, I produced that because of what I did and what votes I put forwards. That particular project was able to see the light of day. So yeah, the whole community is really behind this in a big way. We call them the Flicktonites, and they're all come together when it comes to these kinds of projects, when it comes to the voting in the future.
Yeah, no, it seems like definitely the cookie cutter blockbuster sort of movie environment is kind of pulling from the diversity of any media these days. Speaking of that, what sort of content would you guys ideally take on? Is it full feature films? What's the ideal type of content that Flickto would host?
Yeah, so we haven't actually set any kind of strict guardrails on what types of content we do or don't accept. At the moment, we're saying the large umbrella category of movies, TV shows, streaming content, and that would also include mini-series and short films as well. A large part of this is we're going to wait and see what comes our way. We've got some great launch projects at which to partner with ourselves. There's a couple of short films in there, 1 or 2 feature-length films as well, and we've also had a couple of TV shows being pitched to ourselves already. So we're going to really just see what we get from the community and kind of let the community guide us in that approach. And we'll show that over time, as we start getting the voting rounds in, we start getting the metrics out, we'll be able to then kind of see, right, this is what the Flickto community is after. Perhaps we need to do a bit more effort in marketing this different type of content to different users. But this is an experiment in a way as well. So we're not going to limit ourselves out of the gate by saying no to that type of thing. In terms of financially, with the backing that we have, not just from our initial stake pool offering and our crypto pre-sale investors, we also have private investors as well who are really determined to see some great content published. So we're not financially limited in that way to certain types of content as well. We have the ability to support larger projects, to support feature-length films with decent budgets, with the right kind of professional production that people would expect.
That's great. It's great to see that crypto and Cardano specifically has the power to, will have the power to fund entire series and films. That is a great thing. So like, what does your team look like? We want to get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah. I'll start introducing myself. So I'm Rob Knight, and I'm CTO and co-founder of Flickto. I come from the technology side, and I come from the crypto side. I think I first started investing in crypto at a retail level, must have been 2016, 2017. Lost a lot during the ICO boom, that's for sure, as I'm sure many of your listeners did as well. Prior to starting Flickto early this year, I was a chief technology officer of a large global open source software company. We made a Linux distribution, and I've kind of with that, I take that open source mindset and bring it to the team that we've built and are still building out at Flickto as well. Transparency is very core to my values, and community engagement is also very core to my values. In terms of people not on this call, we've got Sid actually, who is on this call. Sid, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure, no problem at all. So I've jumped in because Theo, as you've heard, is not very well today. But yeah, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer. I come from a background of sales and marketing. I've been involved with helping startups for probably close to about 20 plus years now. And yeah, it's really interesting to get involved with a company very early on and then help to watch it grow and scale. So coming in at this early stage with Flickto has been quite interesting because there's lots of things that need to be done to get it to where it needs to be. And from a community perspective, one of the things that's interesting is I have a team of people that I work with that are able to go in and provide support that a community needs. And we've heard today already just how important the community is, especially on the Cardano platform. So to make sure that they have all the information when they need it. And 24 hours, we've now got the team up to about 3 community managers, which means we can cover off all the different time zones. So yeah, really exciting times in that respect. And I guess the way I look at my role is to just make sure that all the information that's coming across is being, distributed correctly and the right tone is there, and we're not going off brand and we're saying everything as we should, so that as the company continues to grow, we're all aligned and we're all on the same page.
Yep, absolutely. And outside of Sid and myself, we mentioned Theo Bailey. He's our co-founder along with myself and a guy called Cam Stevens. And both Theo and Cam come from the media side. Theo actually owns and runs a production support company, has done for a number of years now, which has given him great access to all the right contacts in the media industry. It was only a couple of weeks ago that he was on set at the largest TV show budget production in UK history, and that was a Steven Spielberg TV show production. So they've really helped connect us to the right people. Without them, we wouldn't have a media side of the house. Outside of the founding team, which is myself, Theo, and Cam, we have 12 now core team members. They consist of some people from the media side. We've got some additional technology heads as well for the people who are currently number crunching on the Flickto platform to get everything ready in time for our first release. We've also got some advisors and partnerships on the media and the crypto side actually as well. A couple to note, Ben Morris, for those of us who are based in the UK, who've ever watched Holby City or Casualty, he's directed and produced countless episodes of that. And on the crypto side, I just want to mention quickly our IDO partner, Kick.io, leading Cardano Launchpad. They've been a great partner in terms of supporting us to get us to a position where we're ready to have our IDO and distribute our Flick token far and wide. I should also mention as well, we've recorded a series of interviews with all the various core team members as well. They're going to be going up on our YouTube and social channels over the next week or two. We'll do 1 or 2 a day. So you'll be able to get to know us all a lot more over the next couple of weeks.
That's great. We'll definitely look at those.
Yeah, definitely. Have you guys been approached by any projects, or do you have any projects in the pipeline right now
Yes, yep. We have some launch projects that we've partnered with ourselves initially to take the platform live. These are projects that, as well as going out for voting, there's a couple that we are going to fund regardless, because we know that they've got a great chance of being a commercial success. We're going to be doing some introductions to those projects, hopefully next week, as long as the team is ready to do so on the media side, so people can kind of get a sneak peek at these projects. One of the things that's kind of surprised me though is even before we've launched our submissions process, our support inbox has been inundated with content creators either submitting ideas. We've had some submit complete storyboards, some just asking, can you help me, right? I'm onto something here, I need your help and support. And that's really surprised us in a number of different ways, that we've just had this huge positive response from content creators already before we've even kind of opened that process. So we've kept all of those details, and we're starting to engage with some of those creators over the next couple of weeks so that we can also get them on the platform as early as possible.
And speaking of like the website and the like app in general, how will that like look like? How will, what will be the features and aesthetic of it?
Yeah, so initially, the primary focus of the platform is going to be for showcasing projects and for listing the projects that people will then be able to use the platform to vote on. In addition to that, there's kind of a My Flick section, which is where those who are eligible for the NFT airdrops, that kind of information's going to be shown as well, where they'll be able to deposit and then stake their Flick as well to vote on media projects that will be through the platform. Initially, our V1 release is going to be web-based in the browser. Quite soon after that, we should have a mobile app out as well on Android and iOS with all the same functionality of that. As we move onward into 2022 and early 2023, this is when we start wanting to build out more of the actual distribution side of things within the Flickto platform as well. So having a proper streaming setup for users of the platform, kind of like YouTube, I guess, in a number of ways, for them to access the content, for them to use their NFTs as access passes to view the content as well. But yeah, for that V1, it is primarily for the voting on the platform and to be a showcase for the projects that we're hosting.
Yep, we're not looking at too far away as well, are we, Rob? It's soon
No.
to be shown.
Yes, yeah, and we are going to have an initial demo of the platform, a demo video that should be out by Christmas, if all goes according to plan. We're hoping for a beta release, so one that's a little bit rough around the edges in the later part of January, and then a full proper platform release should be done by the end of Q1 2022.
Oh, wow.
Exciting.
As a user, if I'm trying to vote for or fund a new project, how do I exactly fund that? Is that like a staking thing or?
Yeah, so the users of the platform, they'll hold Flick tokens. So they either would have got them from our initial stake pool offering, or they would have purchased them on a DEX or a centralized exchange or in our pre-sale, something like that. And based on the number of Flick tokens they hold will determine their voting power. Now, in order to kind of keep things relatively balanced, we're using a weighted algorithm so that someone with 1 million Flick doesn't have 1 million times more voting power than someone with just 1 Flick, because that would kind of go against our values of trying to empower smaller creators and smaller investors as well. It's going to be much more weighted, so people's votes are fairly even. In terms of the actual project funding, that's coming from Flickto. So that's coming from the funds that we raised during the initial stake pool offering, during our public and private sale rounds, and from our private investor backers as well. And that's what's so great from a user perspective, because it's low risk. They're not having to invest ADA into our platform. They're not having to lose their Flick tokens by voting on the platform either, which we think is probably the right way to do it, because then we remove any financial incentives for people to try and manipulate the system or not participate because it costs them money. So that's kind of how they are invested. And like I say, the winners of those rounds, they'll be funded from the Flickto project itself, not directly from the users.
And where does all this data for Flickto content is stored?
Yeah, so in terms of our initial platform. Everything is being run from EU data centers, mainly due to us being in the UK ourselves. We have to comply with things like GDPR. The version 1 of the Flickto platform, that is going to be centralized, hosted from our own platform. And that's why we wait for things like the Plutus application backend to be ready, and for a bit more ecosystem development before we start decentralizing our platform. Towards the end of 2022 and early 2023, that's when we want to decentralize the whole Flickto platform, starting with the voting process, then moving on, to the website. And then as we move into probably mid 2023, that's when we're going to decentralize governance of the Flickto platform as well.
That's great. So yeah, thank you. Before we finish off, is there anything else you want the community to know?
Yeah, I'd say just, check out our website, flickto.io. We've got our white paper on there. Consider staking in our initial stake pool offering. It is 100% Flick token pool, so you wouldn't get ADA rewards. You'd earn Flick tokens instead of ADA rewards, and that's at a rate of 0.15 Flick per every 1 active ADA stake. But before you do any of that, check out our white paper. So it's good to know what you're getting into. Feel free to join our Telegram community. It's very active. We've also got a strong presence on Discord as well. And watch this space, because we've got some big plans ahead. The community response has been amazing so far, and we're clearly onto something here, and we're quite excited to disrupt this industry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the Kick IDO, which is the other big thing that's coming up as well. So for those of you who don't come in through the ISPO, Kick IDO is just around the corner as well. So we're very excited to bring in more people into the community and just to see what we can all do together as the Flicktonites. I love that name.
Awesome. Well, Rob and Sid, it was a pleasure having you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're super stoked to see what happens with Flickto. I think there's crazy potential here, So
we're very excited.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.